In Second John, we see that the Bible seriously talks about avoiding false doctrine, false teachers, and their false teachings. When it all, comes down to it, it shows how John even condemns not hospitality to unbelievers, but the supporting of those who are dedicated to opposing the true teachings of God. So oftentimes that will look like not inviting false teachers to speak at church, not allowing them to teach under the Christian realm of some kind, under the thumb of the Christian label, not approving by finance, not supporting by any means, and not accepting through collab or silence. Now, these are all general truths, but what that's gonna, and what that's gonna look like as these words discuss here in the Bible. But where it gets dicey is when people take, for instance, this one out of context and think that because they're not to accept false teachers through collab or even silence, that therefore it turns into shunning. But you do have to work with fellow people that are not always saved at all. You have to work with fellow people of all kinds. You're even probably related to fellow people that might be considered false teachers. I mean, if they don't believe that Jesus is the eternal Christ, then they're a false teacher. They're not of the Bible. They're lost, according to the Bible. And this is not just a wordy thing, but a factual truth to rely upon for salvation, because God is standing there calling out to all people with an open hand, reaching and trying to save all people, for he died and rose again in their place. And he is the truth. So anyone who denies that is on the wrong side of history, as it says, in popular culture. But typically what goes wrong is people like Christians will take this out of context and use this excuse to shun people, to not hang out with really anybody but fellow Christians. And that's not right either, because the Bible is very open about love and loving people and being kind and welcoming as Jesus is. So the balance is in the context. It does matter who you hang out with, you'll become like them. It doesn't matter that your testimony to others, according to your influence, showcases that you're a true follower of Jesus, not a hypocrite or something. And so it matters that you don't accept false teachers, but that doesn't mean not to hang out with fellow humans. It means not to accept their teachings in some kind of a work duo where you and them together are united in speaking and teaching when you're totally not united at all. So that would be weird. See, it's brushing over the elephant in the room to both get together and send out something that you both are complete opposites in. How can one who doesn't agree with Jesus teach about Jesus with another who does about Jesus? Like, it's just awkward. But also, silence is something to watch out for, because your silence will often be totally ineffectual. And yet Christians use that also as an excuse to be brash and bold, as they call it, but really they're just rude. And that's not okay either. The Bible is very open about being kind and loving and polite. So there's no place for brashness in the name of avoiding silence. And there's no room for shunning in the name of, avoiding the acceptance of false teachers. One other place this goes wrong is in this one here, supporting by means. This doesn't mean that you are to not even help or in any way be of help to people in the wrong, like false teachers and lost people. If they need help, help them. That's very much biblical. What 2 John is referring to is not to support them in their false teaching, in their work, in their efforts to deny the real true Christ, overtly or subtly, by supporting them, providing them a place to do it, providing them the means to carry on their vision. That would be weird. Same with the finance. We're not to approve with our finances what they do, support them in their work with money, give to their cause. But this doesn't mean that you can feel bound up having to vote with your dollar, as it says in pop culture. Like, obviously, most businesses are godless, and you're buying paper towels, for instance, from a store that happens to also support other ideologies that are not biblical. That's just not the same thing at all. That's called living in the world. It's just a reality that is. But approving by finance would be more like, in their vision, in their goals, to preach false teachings, supporting their cause, giving to their dreams and their visions and their ideals and their business deliberately to help support their cause. That's not okay. You might think you might not do this, but it's just good to discuss these things, right? Another error is, allowing them to teach under the Christian realm. But that doesn't mean also that you avoid, shun, or isolate. So if you're like a book company dedicated to Christian books, so we're going to refer to more like that realm, then it would be wise and biblical to not approve contracts with anti-biblical teachers. They can go get another book label to do their work for them. They don't need the Christian book label. You're not shunning them by refusing to link up with them. However, again, this is not an excuse to reject false teachers and lost people from being involved in the Christian realm. And so some Christians will get dicey about this because they think, well, hey, that Christian singer should not be doing a duet with that lost person on the Christian stage. Look, if the lost person wants to come, if the false teacher wants to come and do a duet or some kind of a Christian work with a Christian, and they're going to actually link up with the Christian, they're leaning more towards the Christian and the Christian truth. See, they're welcome. They should be welcome. If a certain celebrity wants to come and actually sing a Christian song with a Christian, they're welcome to do that. What is not okay, though, is allowing them to come and sing their false teaching through their songs, or preach their false teaching on the Christian stage, on the Christian ticket, on the Christian whatever. You can come to the Christian realm, but don't bring your false teachings with you. That would be a contrast anyway. And the same with this one here, inviting them to speak at church. It's very important not to invite false teachers to and lost people to speak their minds in church, or in a group that is the church of Christians, because what is that even? That's not even church anymore. Church is a place to come and get together as Christians, or not, but to learn of Christ, really, and discuss him as the Bible teaches. So it is very important not to invite false teachers to come and have a platform for their false teachings about Christ in the church. That doesn't mean they're not welcome to come or invited, and that's where Christians will often get dicey. They will shun people from coming, or not invite certain people, and that's just not right at all. That is not biblical in the least. If you've ever been shamed like that in church or felt unwelcome, that's just not biblical at all. And it was probably in a very legalistic or even cultish environment that happened. A biblical church will invite all people to come and enjoy Christ. But what is not welcome is your false teachings. So you're not invited to come and bring your opinions, your teachings, your thoughts, because church is a place to gather about the Bible and supporting the Bible and learning of the Bible. If you don't want to do that, go somewhere else to discuss how much you don't like the Bible and all that, but not at church. This just doesn't fit. So then they should not be invited to come and do that. Very interesting topics, ways that Christians often will get confused and mixed up in applying this in everyday life. It's all about your viewpoint. If you're of big influence, or if you have a platform, or if you have a lot of responsibility with money, or any means rather, or even just have the ability to deal with other people, it's very wise to consider these things as far as allowing the false teachers and their teachings not to spread, as opposed to welcoming all people to come to Christ at church or wherever, under the Christian realm, work with Christians, be with Christians, become Christian, come to Christ, and be helped in any human way or even dealt with in human ways, just not supported in their efforts and their works and their teachings that deny Christ, the real Christ. That would be weird.